Hey, everybody. So I'm going to talk about how the top commercial real estate brokers and residential real estate brokers get exclusive listings. But before I start, I want to just tell you a little story. So when I started in real estate, I was working with a commercial, Coldwell Banker commercial real estate office in New Jersey. Now they became CBRE. Um, I was out near Morristown, New Jersey, about an hour from New York City. And the first thing that they told me was, we are the largest commercial real estate company in the world for one reason. We have a system. If you follow the system, you will succeed. If you deviate, if you think you've got a better way, you cut corners, or you think you're smarter than us, you're going to fail. So do you think you can follow a system? Well, of course, I said yes. And the problem was nobody could really tell me the system. Like nobody really seemed to know the system. And they just kept pointing me to different people. And I finally heard about Bob Knakal, who now is recognized as the #1 commercial real estate broker in the world. He sold 2,391 buildings for like over $22 billion. And I had heard about Bob. Somebody told me about him, and I called him. And he said, well, why don't you come on in and tell me what you're looking to do, and I'll be glad to help you. So I drove in on a Saturday morning, and which is what Bob, every Saturday morning he's in working on, his block and lot maps, his zoning information, putting together market reports, putting together newsletters. And so I went in and I just sort of learned from Bob, and I started to go in on a lot of Saturdays. And about a year later, when he started his own firm, I went to work for Bob, and that was an amazing experience. But what I did was, to fast forward to today, I got into the internet about 20 years ago. And what I did was I had purchased a property, and that I was doing a rehab into condos, and all the local brokers said, beautiful job, but you're never going to sell the units. So I'm like, well, what do I do? So I built a website. I took an SEO course. Long story short, I had great success. I sold out all the units, made a ton of money, and it worked out really well. So that's what led me into the internet side of things. But I just wanted to show you. So here is the exclusive listing pitch kit. So it's about 200 pages. It's really easy to follow. I wrote this as if it was for me. Like the day that I started, I wish that I had this. Like I wish at this point I could go back into brokerage with this, because the model is so amazing. Now, if you haven't heard this, I also wrote this book called Proof Stacking, which was, and you can see the foreword was written by Bob Knakal. And so it's all about this system and how to apply it online and apply it offline. So there's a great part right in the very beginning of the workbook, and this is, here's a picture of Bob Knakal holding the proof stacking workbook in what's called the Knakal Map Room. And Bob, this is taken from a LinkedIn post where Bob talked about proof stacking. And what is proof stacking? Is what Bob asked me that in the very beginning. He's like, Ed, what the heck is proof stacking? And I'm like, Bob, it's what you've been doing since the beginning of your career. It's what has enabled you to sell your business for 100 million. Market reports, success stories. What you were doing was you were amplifying proof. You were showing your expertise in a very, very targeted, focused area. And that's what this is all about. Now, one of the things that I want to show you here is this is really key here. I have a section in the workbook, right? It's called the doubter and the proof stacker. And this is really, really important because, I never understood this. But, what this is all about, it's not about us, it's about the consumer. We call the consumer doubters. Because why? Why did they, this is the thing. Proof creates trust. But what does trust do? What's on the other side of trust is doubt. So proof overcomes doubt, consumer doubt. So the doubt, what we call the doubter, the owner of the property, if that's who our target client is, they want to believe. They want to believe somebody. But, they've got a fear of the unknown. They're apprehensive. They might be unclear. Our messaging might be unclear. They're confused. What am I getting into? And do I really want this? They might be influenced by others. Like if you're giving a presentation to somebody, they may not be the ultimate decision maker. They may be, but maybe they have partners. So how do you, they want to at the end of the day, they can get distracted. They want proof. They want to see the proof. And that's really what this all comes down to. So the exclusive listing pitch kit isn't just about how to give an exclusive listing pitch to win the exclusive listing. It's a whole business ecosystem on how to use the internet. How do you apply it online? How do you apply it offline? How do you get ranked on Google? How do you create content that is really, really super fast to create? Today, we've got AI to help us along the way. But again, I'm going to go back over here. I want to show you something really quick here. Let me grab this here. So early on in my career, this is pretty interesting. This is, fortunately, my wife saved these for me. But you see the one on the left, that these were 2 articles that I wrote that were featured in the New York Times. And the first one came from, I sold the building. It was a very tough time in the market. And I was able to get the exclusive listing on a little 5-story building. It was like a mixed use. It had a duplex on the top, and it had a triplex on the bottom. The building was a wreck. The duplex was occupied by a rent controlled tenant paying $250 a month, which was probably, even back then, it was worth a fortune. Today, down there, you could probably rent that unit for, if it was in good shape, for at least $12,000 a month. It was crazy. But anyway, so I sold the building, and I'm walking back to the office with this commission check, and I'm thinking, at first it was like, wow, I sold the building for $1.5 million, no other brokers, 6% commission, really nice commission, and I'm thinking, nobody knows I sold this building. So what do I do? Like, how do I get the word out? I can go back to cold calling, I can go back to stuffing envelopes and doing mailings, but there's got to be a better way. So I had this idea that I was going to, I just came up with this idea that I'm going to go back to the office and I'm going to write a little story about the sale of the building. And in the pitch kit, I've got it all laid out right here, right? And I explained it exactly how I did it. I explained here on this side is the template. And this is what made my entire career. This is available right in the pitch kit. And there are 10 key things that went into this article. It was only 220 words. And I sent it into the New York Times with a picture of the building. And 2 months later, I never heard back from them. I don't know how I ever came up with the idea, but I just sent it to them in an 8x11 envelope. I found the name of a writer in the New York Times, and I sent it in blind. And lo and behold, 2 months later, they published it on the front page of the Sunday New York Times. Now, this is before the internet. This is where everybody went on Sunday. Everybody went to like the sports, the fashion, and the real estate section. And I had a quarter page on the lower part of the paper. I had tremendous visibility. And so I thought, wow, isn't that amazing? I was sort of blown away when I saw it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be rich. Tomorrow morning when I walk into the office, everybody in New York that's got a building is going to be calling me. And I'm like, oh man, what a unbelievable break. It was pretty wild. I still, at the time, and for many, many years, I didn't understand why that happened. Why did the New York Times trust my content? Anyway, Monday morning came and I didn't get any phone calls. Tuesday came, Wednesday came, no phone calls. Finally, by the end of the week, nobody called me. And I'm like, why would anybody advertise in the New York Times if you didn't get business? And that's when, so about a month later, I got a phone call from an owner of a property in the territory that I focused on. And he called, this is somebody I'd talked to numerous times. I thought I knew him. I thought he knew me. And he called me up and he said, hey, Ed, I think he called me Mr. Winslow. Hey, I was given your name by so-and-so, who I'd never heard that name before. And I was told that you're the guy to help me sell my building. And I'm thinking, my gosh, I had called you many times. I've sent you tons of mailings and you don't even know who I am. And that was like, that sort of blew my mind, because that is the state of the owner. That is the doubter. They're not thinking about us. even if you're in front of them over and over and over, which is really the key to the whole thing. But I had, because of the New York Times article, I had tremendous credibility. And that's what this whole book is all about. It walks you through everything that it's a whole story about how you can use the proof in the form of market information, uh, success stories, press releases to build your credibility and get business. Now, once you're doing that, that's a whole process. Step one is the system. Step two is all the things you need to do during the week, every single day, every single week, every single month. And then what do you do when you get the lead? Now, there are going to be objections, and people are going to, the owners of the property are going to say, and I've got it all laid out in this guide. This is in my school group. And this is a whole section on, I've got a whole section here on the top 10 objections right here that every seller has that just crushes the competition, right? Or crushes the exclusive listing. And, number one is, I don't want to lock in an exclusive listing. Another is, they say, I'm not giving an exclusive listing. Another is, what, I already know brokers. My cousin's a broker, my friend's a broker. I know every broker in town. I can't give you an exclusive listing because I know I'll offend all these other people. Well, what do you do about that? They might say, well, list it ourselves. We already have buyers. What do you do when you get a lead and somebody says, well, I already have buyers? Well, I go through every single objection and how to use the proof to overcome those objections. And that's what the exclusive listing pitch kit is all about. And I have a school group as well, so we have calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I walk through everything that you need to know about how to put together your strategy, how to use this content to build your reputation online in front of the same people over and over. And you may have seen this yourself. When you see something over and over and over and over, after a while, you start to, you identify with whatever that is, right? You probably have a hard time mentioning other coffee shops. Like, you can, in your town, you know Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, but you may have a hard time if somebody said, hey, tell me 7 coffee shops in your town. You might have a hard time getting past Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. And that's the same thing with real estate brokerage. So the whole idea here is to build your business like you're a local franchise. Now, it doesn't matter what business you're in. You could be selling development sites, or it could be office buildings or retail buildings or multifamily. There's all kinds of niches out there. So the key is really to focus on a very, very specific market, and that's what the pitch kit is all about. So, I encourage you to pick up a copy. This is exactly, I wrote this for you, but I wrote it for me when I started. Like, when they said, we've got a system, follow the system. And I was like, well, where's the system? And the system is all right there in that workbook. And then it's a very, very simple system. You're going to learn how to utilize AI like you've never used AI before, from a completely different perspective, because you're going to know where to go with it. You're going to know what to do. You're going to know how to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. What are they searching? How do you get that visibility online? Everybody's searching online. I'm going to tell you that, I hear a lot about social media. A lot of people think social media is the end all, but I'm going to tell you that 90%, or probably less, in a lot of cases, less than 10% of the owners are on social media. But when somebody has a need, they're going to go online and they're going to do a search. And when you start popping up everywhere, over and over, for everything that they're searching for, whether it's on Google, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Grok, and this model will enable you to get featured in every single one of those. So that's what this whole model is all about. And if you keep coming back and pick up, check out a number of my videos, I'm going to be talking about this over and over and over. Everything that you need to know about how to build your business, how to get exclusive listings, so that you were the dominant player. Now, there is one more thing I did want to share with you before I go. Let me reach over here and grab it. This here, big part of my business goes back to my New York Times days, is using press releases as like a secret weapon to get exclusive listings. When you go to compete with every other broker and the owner is thinking, either they say it, we actually had an experience here with a broker we work with, who the owner said to him, you know, you guys all look like you do the same thing, so what's so unique about you? And I had put this together. It's in the school group, and he downloaded it, he printed it out, and it's like how to maximize your sales price with tier one publicity campaigns. And it's a whole little like 6-7 page handout, and it's got a sample of a digital press release that you can see right here. And all he did was hand it to the owner, and he won the listing over all the other competitors because he had something so unique. He had a way to actually market their property for sale other than just putting it on Zillow or LoopNet or Crexy or whatever it is. This is actual proof. And this is like an amazing secret weapon. If I was starting again, all I would do is I would make sure every single owner that I'm working with knows that I am a world-class marketer, because that's what they're hiring you to do. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Sorry to be sort of long-winded, but I hope you pick up a copy of this workbook. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.